Nice. Hello, it's Wednesday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Mariah Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Hello. Hello. Good to have you. And our lovely audience. Hello. Any first-timers in the building? You're welcome. Please, let's start off with recognition. Let us know you. Yes. Good to have you. Thank you very much. Please have a seat. Now, YK loves our audience, and guess what? She's arranged shrine rice, Abby.
Yes.
Shrine rice. You see, let me tell you, this shrine rice is not like any other rice. So
if you eat this one,
if you eat it, you don't eat rice anywhere else. Guarantee. This rice. We travel all the way from VGC to come and eat that rice. That rice, I'm shocked that she actually bought for you guys. Shrine rice, you can't get it anywhere. So thanks for that, fantastic. I was so surprised. I'm going to take one to the house for my family.
Anyway. I was just about to say...
No, don't worry, it's my family.
Mariah is on keto now.
Hey, so why can I ask you?
How you doing? Come yesterday, she has ketosis. They call it...
They don't have ketosis.
They call it ketosis. That's when your body is...
YK, how are you doing? Mind your business. Let's face you, how are you? I love the blue combination.
Thank you. But I've been begging Mary, every beggar. Me too, I want to do it too.
No.
I want to lose weight.
Please, YK, don't break my ribs.
No. She doesn't trust me. Let me tell her.
I don't trust YK.
Help me just say I beg now.
YK. How are you doing though?
I'm fine.
Good to have you on the show.
We missed you yesterday.
Yeah, thank you. I feel better. I feel much better, you know, getting there.
That's cool.
Elijah, how are you?
I'm fine. There's no Wednesday I don't have stories about the road.
There is no day. There's
no
every single day.
Hardly a Wednesday that what happened this morning doesn't happen, that I'm locked into my community by the tankers. They take over. So I guess the main satellites road, the Bubamara road, people rejected them this morning. They protested. And so they just parked on the road. We couldn't get on the express. They've taken over the expressway all the way to Finanja. And we have government. I shouldn't be talking about it. The chairperson of Oriade local government should be seeing and be hearing this firsthand. And the person in Omo-Odofin as well.
No, Nima, I think we should write them official letters and invite them to the show.
I think so.
Let's write them a letter.
Let us understand how governance works, why it's difficult to...
So write the local government chairman, and hopefully maybe somebody who's heading...
And DPR, let me call out DPR. Please stop licensing any business with petrol business on that side of town. We've been protesting, and you know we've been talking about it. I don't understand how facilities will not precede the licensing. We don't have a fire service. We don't have a fire service station, you are licensing. You don't have a parking place for them, you are licensing. People are risking their lives. That's a residential community. Right. You can't put us at risk of any...
It sounds so basic. I think that people would understand.
Be careful, because protest people go to jail. Don't tie yourself inside GSS now.
They will not want to do it.
Yes, but Mariam, how are you doing?
I'm fine,
they don't want to try it.
You know, so I started my August session for keto, which I have banned Auntie Annie from joining. So, yes, we don't trust you. I don't want to come and spoil my market for me. Anyway, so I find this interesting. People have been calling me because the style I go about is that I give you information. So you're reading about it and understanding it. Some people have called me to say, please, we don't want all this to be reading and understanding it. Just tell us what to do. My plan is so that when I'm not there, you can do it on your own, wherever you find yourself. So if you go to another country and you want to eat keto, a keto meal, you know what to do. But Nigerians say they don't want that. Just tell me
what
A, B, and let me do that. So I want to know, why are we this way?
Because we are Nigerians now.
That's what I
And that is what it just affects,
You can't make it work.
Every area of our life. We do not want to learn how to do it on our own. We don't want to learn why something happens, how something happens. Then, only then, can you carry it and make it bigger than, where you started.
Right, very correct. So, happens in every person.
Well, advising us.
But I just need it.
Anyways, we have to appreciate the Lagos Computerized Vehicle Inspection Service, LAGVIS, for giving us 10 free vouchers for our audience to take their vehicles to get inspected, free inspection. But I don't think anybody here didn't come in council, so I don't think I'm going to give you guys these tickets. Maybe I'll go and email it to somebody. But we'll see how we can. We only have 10 tickets, so we'll see who gets the 10 tickets here from the Lagos State Vehicle Inspection Service. They're giving us 10 for all our audience, just 10 of our audience. So we'll see who can.
No, for host.
Not for the host, it's for the audience. For the audience. So you have a card, definitely you get it. So you get free inspection. And also we have to thank Cream Slices again for giving us our weekly cake. They're always so reliable. Thank you very much. Cream Slices. We're going to break now. When we come back, we'll go through the front pages of the newspapers. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Right. Let's start with the Punch. Hashtag Revolution Now protest. Outrage greets clampdown as police arraigns protesters. Picture here, 4 varsity students killed as Bauchi bridge collapses. FG probes Lekki, federal government. FG probes Lekki strippers video. Techno producer arrested. 2 Chinese arrested for operating illegal waste factory.
Yes, sir.
Stop water bill, Ruga SMBLF tells Lawan. 10,000 graduates jostle for Ekiti primary school jobs. Kaduna to appeal El Zakzaki's Indian medical trips ruling. Court freezes 9.9 billion naira accounts linked to Ambode. ACF attacks Afenifere Ohaneze for boycotting Abdusalami's summit. And Buhari inaugurates new ministers August 21st. Okay, let's start with the...
Let me quickly take the Chinese.
Okay. I know you are really passionate about this kind of Chinese matter.
So these 2 Chinese people came into the country with a 1-month visa, registered a company for a different business, and are doing a different business of recycling used phones. And to get the elements or whatever they need from the phones, of course, they have to do a recycling that will cause danger to our environment.
That involves burning.
And they are operating them, burning them somewhere in maybe it's not in downtown Nima area, in the middle of town, very close to government here. So policemen from the Area F command were tipped off and they raided them and arrested them. And they were trying to justify that they are doing business, they love staying in Nigeria, but they do not want to conform with the laws.
Right.
Aside from them meeting our immigration rules and everything, it's very important that whatever business you do here must be environmental friendly. Yeah. You can't come here and give us poison to gases to inhale while you're living freely. You have a free medical system, whatever works there.
Right.
Any business that is environmentally dangerous to us here must not be allowed to operate.
Right.
That's the way I see
let's
it.
move on to
They should be prosecuted.
Yes.
How does the matter concern federal government?
Okay, so this is a
So
statement.
is that the techno story?
Yes.
Please take
So
it.
the statement, we know what the story is now,
Yes.
the dancing girls in the bus. So the statement by the DG of National Council for Arts and Culture, his name is Shegun, please, the pronunciation, Runsewe. Okay, expressed that government commitment to positioning the true gains. He says this: the Lekki Public Show negates the beauty of the Nigerian culture and way of life. It is unacceptable, Jezebelistic, and sins against the Nigerian culture and must be condemned, ridiculed, and rejected by Nigerians.
They shouldn't go and condemn headsmen,
This dizzying madness cannot and will not be allowed to turn Nigeria into a destination for sex and illegal drugs and tourism. So, heavy words for us.
Jezebelistic.
I wish
Are you Jezebelistic?
Excuse me. This guy...
Stop being Jezebelistic.
This guy just did this video. Okay, he didn't conform.
Yes.
Why are they making it into a big issue?
Federal government matter.
Come on. They have headsmen. They have everything. Then there is techno. They should leave the boy.
You need to use him as an example to other people who
so that we
want
don't
to
have
openly display.
No, we don't normally
We agree. We all agree with that.
He himself has apologized.
Apology.
He's apologized.
There's a law against it.
Realize.
She made the
He said he
consequences.
didn't, I even saw them that day. Before they started. I did. I saw them.
Girls.
No, I saw him. Okay. They were packed by 1,004. So I was saying, what's happening here? Theo says, oh, it's no, he said maybe it's a reality
TV.
Okay, let's move on to the nation. Unfortunately, we have to run out. Insecurity, bishops give federal government wake-up call. 9.9 billion naira fraud, EFC to freeze Lagos accounts. Buhari to swear in ministers 21st of August. 4 students died, 7 injured as campus bridge collapses. Who has that story? The campus bridge.
Yes.
So this student of the Tafawa Balewa University, Bauchi, were 4 of them drowned because their makeshift bridge collapsed during heavy rainfall on Monday, and 7 of them are injured and they're in the hospital. The VC has shut down the school yesterday for investigation while repairs are happening. But this was a makeshift bridge that could have been avoided.
A school.
Yeah.
The university.
The students are actually
university.
protesting.
Right.
Because they said they had come last week to come and do some repairs. Obviously, the students union even tried to repair it. And the kids, they have to go through that bridge.
To their hostel, from their...
It's painful, YK, that we actually don't take this kind of things important. How can a school like that have officials, have VCs, and they actually let their children cross this kind of dilapidated bridge?
Can you imagine?
Now, 4 children have died.
7
Who are you going to hold accountable?
The school.
If I were the parents, I would hold the school. I will hold
what
the
would the
school.
school do?
What will this do after?
The school? The school is in charge of the facilities within the school. They should provide a reliable bridge.
No, we're saying now that this has happened, now what do you give? What do you tell the children?
Of course, they can't get the life back, but there's always a compensation.
Okay, Daily Trust, how flood killed 4 ATBU students. We just mentioned that. Ida Kabil, FG, declares Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 5, 6. Monday, Tuesday, public holidays. Nigeria difficult to administer, says IBB. Court freezes 3 Lagos accounts over 9.9 billion naira fraud. FG promotes 2,932 senior civil servants, and Buhari swears in ministers. Okay, this Buhari swearing in our ministers August 21st. That's good news.
The Lagos State story there, I would love to.
What happened in Lagos State?
So the court froze the Lagos State account yesterday to the tune of 9.9 billion naira. This account has been linked, according to the Punch, to the former governor's chief of staff's permanent secretary in the chief of staff's office. So
that's it. That's pretty much
very
it.
interesting.
There's nothing interesting about that story, please. They've not indicted anybody. They just said they're investigating.
They didn't say that. Okay, let me drop the story. This account was opened September 17th last year. Just after, so that's why this is suspicious. I mean, within that period of time to date, it has raised this amount of money to that account. So it's suspicious.
Daily Sun, insecurity, save Nigeria, Catholic bishops tell FG. APC governors taunt revolution march, proponents as protesters get bill. FG considers revenue sharing formula review. Flood risks Imo, 200 houses submerged, 6,000 displaced. Okay, so...
Catholic bishop.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the Catholic bishops met here in Ekiti State, and they are just asking that the government should do something about insecurity. And they are putting the blame really on government and asking that the government should make sure that they do something about those who have been caught. We need to see that they are punished. And then also make sure that, people have jobs, people have, are not in poverty. And that will also help curb it on the other side. But really blaming the government for all that's been happening. And they need to do more, especially in making sure that those who have been caught, are really prosecuted.
So currently, they're trying to review the sharing formula within the states, local government, and I think the federal government. Currently, I think the federal government gets the lion's share. The state about 26%, local government 20%. So they're trying to review that. I don't know who's going to get a larger share. We'll see how that goes. But the Imo State governor has really raised, trying to seek as much help as he can find to get help for that issue of flooding.
For the flooding.
Yeah, for the flooding.
I read the story in the Sun. Did you read it?
I read the
detail.
Yeah.
So an association of engineers
78.
visited him, and they were, of course, complaining about the situation of flooding in the state. And he said he sought their help to curb flooding in Owerri, the capital.
Yes.
Now they're saying that this is because of due to the master plan not continuing, and that they have their drainages blocked. These are basic things that any governor do not need a panel if you have a commissioner for the environment that you could sit to. So I don't understand how we always do committee for...
Let's move on to Vanguard. DSS 6 court order to detain Showore for 90 days. Tackle security challenges, says Catholic bishops. Koza, I signed letter countering rape case at gunpoint, says Bosola Dakolo. Female banker killed 2 guards injured as robbers attacked bank in Ondo. Ghanaians like sex too much, says actress. FG to review revenue sharing formula. Make front page. I don't know how to do this. Second civil war will be calamitous, says Dan Suleiman. Okay, which stories are we taking?
The bank...
the young lady.
The young lady and 2 guards were killed. The armed robbers came in. They used dynamite to blow up the door. They went in, but the lady got killed because the police and the armed robbers were facing each other. It was a stray bullet that killed her, that killed her.
Really sad
and,
story.
Where is this in Lagos?
The robbers made the way, they took a customer's car. They left their own car. They took a customer's car, made the way, abandoned it, entered the bush. Police have said that they are going to find this thing, you know. But this is what police should be looking for, not techno. So,
all right, let me just read very quickly The Guardian. Crisis looms in Senate over juicy committees. Telecom services worsen over interconnect debts. And finally, this day, review of revenue allocation formula underway, says Revenue Mobilization Commission. And DSS silent on El Zagzaki as court rules on Showore tomorrow. Showore might be staying there for 90 days.
he has done his more than his 48 hours. So
he might be cooling off in DSS jail for some time.
In a state like Lagos.
Anyway, let's go on the break. When we come back, it's Wednesday. We discuss our lineup of topics. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So a video is circulating online showing a core member who transformed her NYSC uniform into a skirt was chased out of the LGI's office. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect, please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweet. Now, there are always different angles to these kind of stories, and discrimination is obviously there. But I don't want us to just point fingers, because the truth is that there's so many areas in our lives that we actually discriminate. There's so many things. So it's easy to say, oh, she's been discriminated against, but there's so many things we do subconsciously to each other that we actually discriminate. So, all right, so the issue was not the hijab, because I don't want to start diverting the conversation to the hijab. It was about the skirt. So, your general thoughts on this? I'm not going to start with you, Nima. Let me come to Maya. Go ahead.
Yes, okay. So for me, looking at this, I just feel that, see, there's a right way to do the right thing. There's a wrong way to do the right thing. So there are two things here. First of all, she changed her uniform from the official way it's meant to be, and we know it's supposed to be a pair of trousers. And she did something wrong, but she did it because of something right. This is what her religion expects of her. She's not allowed to wear trousers. Right. But the thing is, I know NYSC, earlier this year in 2015, they've talked about people defacing the uniform. This is the uniform that you have been given. We have, apart from her, other girls have turned their own into like much tighter fits. Some have turned their own into tiny mini skirts, and they have all been reprimanded one way or the other. But the wrong thing that the local government did was to make fun of her and, you know, and just treat her as, and embarrass her. But you know what? That thing is not about her skirt or her hijab. It's just the way Nigerians behave about everything. You go somewhere, if they want to talk to you, they talk to you so rudely. They just feel that when they're in an office, sitting behind a desk, they can talk to you anyhow. So if it was any other person, it could have been about anything. That was the sort of response she would have gotten.
Okay, so let me come to you, Nima, on this issue.
Okay. So I love that you started that we might have discriminated against each other one way or the other. I would like to put a little bit of history to why we have the Chapter 4 in the Constitution, which guarantees everybody's fundamental rights. If these rights were allowed to be at the discretion or disposition of one person, it will always be an abuse of another person's rights. That's why the Constitution guarantees that right for every human being or every citizen of the country. When the Constitution says a person has the freedom to religion, every establishment should be allowed in such a way that their rules will be sensitive and covers that religion. While where we are, and we always claim to be copying the West. In the West, they've already designed uniforms in ways that people's faith and their beliefs will be covered by it. I have a friend who was recently, inducted into the New York police. She wears the hijab. No big deal. She finished from, her husband finished from last, he was a junior of mine from school. I see their pictures every day. But in Nigeria, there is always a problem. So when I served, I had this issue. I didn't want to wear a short white short at the camp. I had never exposed my legs from 99 when I took up the hijab. But one person insisted, you cannot do that. I went to every single office because as a law student, I felt there should be a legal way to allow me to do this thing. I went to every single office until I was calling an uncle who is a staff or someone I know there. I won't get any relief. Nobody would get it. They would insist that at their disposition, they do not even want to see me in the hijab. So fast forward, we finally got redeployed to Lagos because I had to change my state. And I got to Lagos. And I saw a nun, a sister,
yes, in
her skirt and her own scarf allowed. Something that I had done every legitimate thing to get done. I didn't get.
Could it be as a result of the state you were in? Because maybe they were
it's not about the state. It's about the disposition of the people in the offices I had to meet. Okay. So this is a law that this is a right that the law had guaranteed. All I needed to do was say this right has been guaranteed. Everybody would conform and allow me, as long as it does not breach another person's right. But here, down here, we always leave it to the disposition so that we now have to go to court every time to enforce that right.
You still did the right thing by going...
But I didn't get my rights. In fact, just like...
Did you wear the shorts?
I had to. I had to find a socks to wear under. In fact, it was a crazy dressing at the end of the day. It just looked awkward to me. And every single time, what I did was that when they are having their match, whatever, our training, I would run to the medical student. I would go and hide with a sick excuse. But it didn't have to get to that.
The flip side to this, the flip side to this, because people who have had this argument have said, there are rules. You understand the rules. I hear you.
So how long do you wait for the rules to be enforced?
I hear you saying that this should be done such that it's not left to one person's discretion.
Yeah.
On the other hand, people are saying there are rules across board. If you go to a hospital, nurses are dressed in a certain way. If you go to the courts, people are dressed in certain ways. So it's not just an NYSC issue. It's a holistic approach where we ensure that all the various offices in this country adhere to the constitution that says, okay, everybody must wear certain things the way it's been allowed. Well, the point I'm trying to make to you, Nima, is that I don't want us to make this a hijab issue.
Yes.
I want us to focus on the skirts, because I know you're very passionate about the hijab one. Let's focus on the fact that why should a young lady whose religion encourages her to wear skirt be forced to wear trousers during the NYSC? That's the question. And I'd like to get members of our audience to share with us their own experience. Maybe when you're trying to pass out to NYSC, did you go through this process at all? Were you ever accosted concerning this issue of hijab, issue of skirts? Do you have anybody that is ready to say something? Okay, not yet. All right, Baiki, what are your general thoughts when you saw this video?
I've seen the video for the first time today, and I do not like the way they ridiculed her.
Right.
I don't think they should have ridiculed her, but I also think she too should have gone through the
process,
the right channel. You know, go make a complaint. You need to complain. Look, I cannot wear trousers. I have to wear a skirt. Not just, like you said, deface the uniform.
Right. Let me take this call from Bagada. Morning, are you there?
Morning.
Hello, Morning, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Okay, my own contribution is that there are rules and regulations guiding different kind of organization. It's not about religion. It's not about tribe. It's not about anything. In NYSC, there are rules and guidelines. So we should follow the rules, not because we are Muslim, we are Christian. If you have an exception for one reason or another, maybe medical or you can apply. But people should not be sentimental about religion. You can't deface a national uniform just because your religion. No. If Muslims have their own Christian, atheists, and everybody start to put sentiments about religion, since we should not be sensitive about religion to now do what is against the ethic of that profession.
Okay,
he said that, yes, we should, there are rules for every establishment, but the moment, of course, again, it contravenes the constitution that guarantees everybody's right. It's immediately null and void. So we know that when we go to court, I always say there's no time where you go to court that the court will not guarantee that right. Go and check the records. They will guarantee it. But we know when we go there, and then we'll keep insisting it's a regulation within our establishment. If it's a private establishment, that's a different thing. This is the NYSC.
Okay. So what you said is really clear. this has to be done such that the government itself has to actually review that aspect to ensure that all parastatals, all governments of
government within the civil service should start to hold their officials accountable when an individual reports such abuses. Okay. If I had the opportunity of getting relief, when I was reporting and going by office, they would just call, which man? That one is my colleague.
Let me take this call from Kafila.
That abuse.
Mariam, Kafila, are you there?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
I'm a first-time caller.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. This issue, I think people just make a fuse and they want to cover it under religion. Because I know even as a Muslim, when you go to your schools, you wear trousers. There are how they are sold. But when you want to make, I don't know, is it a statement? If you, like this lady said that you have to go through a process. If you know what is being sold for you is indecent for you, I don't think trouser is out for ladies, even in Islam. They wear it.
Okay. Yeah, so what I want to say is that we have issues concerning dressing a lot, especially when it comes to how women are dressed. And I feel that, the Ministry of Women Affairs, I would like to see us do something more. So we have women. I know there was a story of the lady who wanted to use her hijab for law school. It took a process. It took her some time to get there. So if this is such a problem that even Nima during her time had experienced it, I'm wondering why, we don't have like a CSO, an organization, go and meet government and make sure that this policy is put in place. Yeah, sometimes we cannot just sit down. We cannot just
what she's saying now, they keep having to go to court. They don't have to always go to court to get this kind of...
That's why I signed up with the Hijab Rights Advocacy Initiative. We always have to go to court to get it enforced. I see people do it in every public, and I wonder why.
And at your own disposition, it's not just about the hijab as well. I think some churches as well do not allow their women wear trousers. So like the MMMs and Deeper Life as well. So they have to wear the skirt. So that's why I don't want to make this about maybe Islam or Christianity, but it's just that if we have something that affects the sensitivities of, various groups, we should see that we put a policy.
Like this. You are fighting for a right. You shall be honored in future. You will be immortalized because you fought for the rights of the hijabites. Yeah. Finish.
Okay, let's
fight for them. And let's get close.
All right, let's go to break. When we come back, we'll give you more topics. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Okay. Before we go into the next segment, let's take a few tweets on the last topic. I know Waike has lots of...
Plenty tweets, so okay, let me put on my glasses.
Okay.
First, this is Chike. First, NYSC is a military combat training program. The dress code is as obtained in the military. Show me a military female combatant in a skirt. They can only wear skirts as regular wears, not combat wears. Mr. MSQT, MZ, sorry. Religion has really blindfolded Nigerians for crying out loud. She's not the only one serving, but don't make the issue a big deal. Was that how she wore it in camp? Then she changed it.
Okay, let's move. Okay, let's move on. So there is a report that out-of-school children have increased from 10.5 million in 2015 to 13.2 million in 2018. And one of the causes is lack of funds for these children to go to school. On the show today, our guests will be enlightening us on what must be done to help reduce and stop this. Joining us on the show is the head of operations, SchoolMe Scholarship, Mr. Ekaette. Welcome to the show, sir.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Good to have you.
Nice being here.
All right, so this issue of out-of-school children obviously is very disturbing, and when these kind of reports come out, it begs for worry. People wonder what is going on. In your own line of work, what have you done to help bring kids back to school?
Okay, it's actually disheartening that at this stage of our development as a country, we are talking about children up to that tune out of school. It's crazy. And I think it's high time we become very focused and realistic with what we're actually doing to improve education and access to education. I want to say that the issues behind why we have these numbers to that tune are not far-fetched. Of course, we have cultural issues, we have religious issues, we have political issues and all that. And you could actually drill down, to the specific issues. We talk about the situation of unrest, insecurity, like the case in the Northeast, where we have, I don't want to remind you of the Dapchi girls incidents and the Chibok girls and all that. And of course, you also have other issues such as migration, people moving from one part of the country to the other with their children, and so they don't have time to sit in school. And then you have issues of educational financing, and that's the crux. That's why we are here, because that's our space, that's the business that we are into.
When you say educational financing, what do you mean by that? Because we see a lot of children on the street. I know Lagos State government has done a lot of work in trying to get these kids off the street. Yes. But the time was really, really bad. But a lot of children are now, they say it's free. School, in some states actually, primary education is free. Okay. So when you say cost to who?
All right. It's interesting. And I would want to say that when you say education is free, it's only in principle. That's the truth. It's only in principle because there is still much to be done to provide infrastructure. There is still much to be done in sensitizing the public, making people understand the essence of education, because you're actually spending money and you're not getting the value. A lot of people are not really, maybe for ignorance or cultural reasons, like the case where, the case of the girl child. So you have all of these issues.
Is this still, this issue of the problem of the girl child not going to school, is that realistically still our problem in Nigeria, why children are not in school? I would want to put it on that the increase in number could definitely be about the unrest in the Northeast, and maybe that's why we have more people out. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes in dealing with these issues, we need to be realistic about the issues themselves, what is causing it. It's easy to just put the blame on government. If government already provides free education, and we've heard of them also providing free meals to keep these children in school, if these children are not in school, apart from the unrest, could it just be that people just don't like going to school or sending their children to school?
Not necessary. The truth is that we don't have enough sensitization. It is not that people are not willing. People need to be educated about the essence of education. Now, why do you have all these conventions, treaties, and agreements emphasizing that education is a social right of every individual? It is because governments all over the world realize that education is necessary for political participation. Education is an ingredient for development. People have to be part and parcel of the educational process in their localities, in their nations.
But in Nigeria today, we have people that I think people know that. And people want that for themselves.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at it, there's hardly a place that you would go and talk about education, that they are not aware of schools and what education can give us.
You think so?
Okay. Well, I would like to know, like, what areas if you can help us, please, where there are people in Nigeria as of today that do not understand how important education is to us, apart from the problem of unrest that affects them. Yes.
Okay, it goes without saying that in the rural areas, maybe because we are urban, okay, so we see school around, in our streets, we see a couple of schools, we get to the next street, we see school, and we feel that we have these schools everywhere. Right. There are proximity issues. There are communities where they don't have access to education at all. And then we are talking grammar, the government is spending. I mean, let's also look at it from the point of funding. Maybe that will paint a better picture. Now, we are talking about UNESCO recommendation that 26% of annual budgets of countries be allocated to education. How much of that are we actually doing? Those are the things, those are the real issues. So when you talk about educational funding, which I believe is the crux of this issue, government is not spending much. Yes, it's granted that government can't do all of it. We cannot allow the burden of education to be on government. But the problem, the crux of it is education is hampered by funding. That's the issue. So if government spends more in sensitizing, if government spends more in drilling out infrastructures and improving the quality of teachers and all of that, because we have access issues, we have quality issues and all of that, I think this problem is going to be solved to a large extent.
I'd like you to help put it in proper perspective.
All right.
So let's pick states as example.
All right.
In Osun, during the former governor's time, for instance, they did everything possible to sensitize people towards education, to improve education, even feeding and everything to get people to school. But then you can't say that the entire state, everybody loved the idea of education. Is it the lack of funds or lack of government's effort, or the people now not believing in this form of education? Because traditionally some people believe that skill acquisition from generation to generation is the form of education that they want for their kids. What exactly is wrong? I'd like you to give an example and to help us understand whether this form of educating our people is the best form of educating our people that we have.
Okay, I would assume that I understand the question, but my thoughts...
If you don't understand, I can put it again.
No, you want me to be really specific because you think government is doing enough. You think people are well aware of the importance of education, and if they are not going to school, how is that government's fault, right? Okay? Now, the thing is this. I mentioned sensitization. It's about opinions. It's about changing mindsets. If culturally or religiously people think that they don't need education, or maybe the form of education that is available is not what is suited to their desires, their aspirations and ambitions and all that, then government should begin to think, should we change the pedagogy? Do we really need to change the methodology? Do we need to change the approach? These are still financial-based issues.
Because of time, I need us to
yes.
get to the meat of the conversation, which is issue of funding.
Yes.
And I asked something earlier that funding by who? So you're saying the government should fund the education, or are we getting private entities to come invest in education? How do we solve this issue of funding to ensure that schools have the right requisite amount of money to push this project of...
All right, to put that in perspective, funding, of course, there are two schools of thoughts. Some people feel education is a social right, and government should take responsibility. Right. Government should push so much money in educating the populace. There are people who feel that, no, government can't be left to do that alone, because obviously there are other things, responsibilities governments have to
I belong to the first school of thought.
That government should do all.
Yeah,
okay, so that still brings it to the crux of this discussion.
Right.
Funding. Now, UNESCO says 26% of the budget.
Right.
How much are we really doing?
Okay.
As far back as 1999 till date, we have never exceeded.
We understand the problems. Trust me.
We discuss 10%.
We discuss the problems on this table every single day. So trust me. My question is that how do we solve it?
How do we solve it?
Where do we get this money from?
All right, good. Now, private individuals have to be encouraged.
Okay.
So it's about government creating enabling environments for educational investments. Now, when you make it difficult to establish schools, what you are saying in essence is the number of schools available, that's it. It should be limited to that. So government can't do it all. Open the doors, let individuals actually come in. And of course, the cost of doing that is high. So that boils down back to the economy, trying to improve lives, trying to make, to improve the value of our currency and all of that. Now, when the cost of getting these things done is driven down, then you can have a lot of this coming in. But then there's a point I want to actually drive, which are innovative ways to getting the problem solved. And that's why in SchoolMe Scholarship Lottery, we thought that lottery can be used as a platform to mobilize funds and channel them towards education. In terms of creating this sensitization, in terms of assisting in infrastructure where there are needs, where critical needs.
So how does school lottery work or scholarship lottery work?
Okay, of course. SchoolMe Scholarship Lottery, like any other lottery, it's a game of chance, right? It gives people opportunity to actually participate. When you play SchoolMe Scholarship Lottery.
Okay, we're not here to talk about this.
Yeah, that's why I want to show you the innovation that we brought in.
But you see, there are so many ways, because we've gotten the crux of the matter is the fact that funding is what we need to get schools out there and to get people sensitized about the necessity of ensuring their children go to school, which is key. And we'll try to get as much involvement of private sector like you and also government involved. Unfortunately, that's all we can take on that segment. All right. Let's go on the break. When we come back, discuss further on other issues. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Let's go in trouble.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
We love Wednesdays because it brings some inspirational women to our audience. Trust me, she is the former Nigerian ambassador to Zambia and Malawi, the Ogun State Commissioner for Women Affairs and Social Welfare. She's also a legal practitioner. Hey, one person.
Only one person.
Welcome with us, Ambassador Marcus-Bello. Welcome to the show, madam. You can join the conversation on 070-806-68014. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweets. We love bringing women who are doing great things. I think last week we also had an amazing woman here. Tell us about your journey. A lot of people see this, all the stuff you've done, and they're thinking, okay, how is it that one person can be ambassador to 2 different countries at different times, and you still were able to be commissioner of Women Affairs in Ogun State at some point? Tell us about that journey. How did it come about?
Well, I like the word journey because life in itself is a journey.
Right.
And it's been interesting, it's been difficult, it's been everything you expect it to be because life is one long journey. Where did it start? It started from Ibadan because I was born and raised in Ibadan. And I had all of my education in Ibadan. But before we go into that, I'd like to tell you that I'm proudly Nigerian. I've had all of my education here. I started off secondary at St. Louis Grammar School in Ibadan. From there, I went to International School Ibadan. Then I went to the University of Ibadan. My first degree was in political science. And then in Ibadan, University of Ibadan. And then I, of course, served my youth corps with the police and Lagos State Television. And then from there, I got my first job with Vanguard newspapers, but not as a writer. I was in the Yellow Pages arm. From there, I went back and I studied law at the Lagos State University, and of course, the Nigerian Law School. And from there, I became unemployed.
Okay.
I searched high and low. I looked everywhere. I couldn't get a job even then. I tried the civil service. I tried the federal, the state. I just wasn't lucky. And so I decided to, after Vanguard, to go back to study law. Because then it's not like now where the arts are recognized and everything is recognized. If you had a profession, the restricted ones, you know, law, medicine, accounting, it was easier to get a job. So I went back, and I went back to LASU to get another degree in law. Of course, followed by law school. And then after law school, I was still being on my own. Then I started my own legal practice called Marcus-Bello & Co. And it was from there that I was headhunted by a group of young men who were coming together to form a foundation to support people in Ogun State specifically. Right. And from there, we catapulted into a political group, and we were called Gateway Front Foundation. I served also for a short while as their secretary. And then from there, we won the elections, and then I had to look after government property to revamp it, the Gateway Hotels. And from there, I became a commissioner. And from being a commissioner, I became an ambassador.
So let's go to the very beginning of what I would consider your first public service.
Yes.
Which is, of course, as sole administrator to the Gateway Hotels.
Yes.
As the pioneer of business in tourism in Ogun State, how did you organize that business to encourage tourism in Ogun State, for instance? How did it go?
I think it's the Gateway Hotels that made me the most famous. Because when I got there, the hotels were down. They were government properties, and people just took them for granted.
What year was this?
That must have been 2003. And they took them for granted, and they were down. So it was my responsibility to revamp all three. which I think I did successfully. But it wasn't with a lot of, it wasn't smooth. Of course, when you're dealing with government property, it was with a lot of resistance. It was with a lot of, I became quite famous because I made headlines of Tribune. I was in the news every day for one reason or the other, you know. Because I had to sack 33 managers in one day. Wow. You can imagine 3 hotels. You can imagine, thank you, 3 hotels having 33 managers. Government. 3 hotels having 33 managers. Yeah. So, of course, they took me to a tribunal.
Manager for feeding, manager for eating, manager for sleeping. You know,
and I successfully revamped them, but it wasn't easy. Right. It wasn't.
So, I mean, you have an impressive CV. But one that really caught my attention is you're a Commissioner for Women Affairs and Social Welfare. Yes. And sometimes that particular ministry, even at the federal level, many people sort of, you know, turn their nose up at it, like, what exactly did they do?
Exactly,
They're talking women affairs.
Exactly.
I would like to know what it was that you did at the state level and what you think of what it is today.
Okay, you see, the first thing, because there are young people here, that I'd like you to know is you can be all you want to be. They can give you a seed and you can turn it into a tree. They can give you a seed and you can throw it away. They can give you a seed and you can choose to put it in a glass and decorate your window. It depends on who is occupying a particular position. It's true that if you don't decide what you want to be with women affairs for me and social welfare is the busiest, and I'll tell you why. The first thing we did, I don't like to say I, because my ministry, my group, my governor, and all of us, the first thing we did then was to ensure that all children and the aged from 60 and above got free treatment. And pregnant women, they got free treatment in government hospitals in Ogun State. That's one. Secondly, it was about that time that the Child's Rights Act was promulgated. Yes. What we did in my ministry was to translate it from English into Yoruba and Egu. I think we're the only person who has ever done that. I have the copies with me still. So that we're not just talking to educated people. We spoke to the grassroots. Yes. The people in Yewa, the people in Ogun State, and of course...
Who was the governor at the time?
Benga Daniel.
How come we didn't get to hear all this? Doing that
we have it. And then we picked up all the challenged people, whether you were crippled, whether you had mental issues. We paid to have them in Arrow for the people in mental issue. I even still have a problem. Some of them still stalk me till today. They still call me. And surprisingly, some of them are healed. We picked up children. We revamped the children's home. We rebuilt it, renamed it Stella Obasanjo's Children's Home. So we did a lot of adoption, you know. And then we also had the social angle where some people who didn't have a job we gave challenged people, physically challenged, we made it a policy that every ministry must employ at least one physically challenged person. So it depends on what the ministry. The Ministry of Women Affairs should be the busiest.
There's a lot of work to be done.
I just don't want to spend the whole time telling you what the ministry should do. It is the busiest. Every single day, if you have an open door policy, people will come with different issues. There's battering, there's rape, there's adoption that has gone wrong. It's a very busy ministry.
The Ministry of Women and Social Affairs also concerns, it deals with issues of adoption.
Yes, we do.
I know the bottlenecks that this, adopting a child gives. Sometime in the past, a friend of a man wanted, and he said until 2 years, you can't even fulfill the requirements. They'll investigate. What did you do in your time to make it easy and quick?
Okay, I'll tell you 2 things I did. The first thing is we looked at it again. We looked at the law, but it's very tough to change a law. But you can bend the law. I bent the law most times. And what I did... and what I did was, in my time, initially we were able to pick up a lot of babies. And I would look for my friends who didn't have children and encourage them to come. And instead of leaving the children, because sometimes government can't afford to feed all of these children,
exactly.
I will use my position to say, look, go and help me look after that baby while we do the papers. Or the baby might end up with somebody else, but at least the baby is not starving in the baby's home. That's one. Secondly, what you call a bottleneck, I can write a book on what goes on with adoption. It's investigation. And then all of a sudden, in our time, we let people realize that adoption is not a big deal. I have adopted children. I have a set of twins that I adopted when I was commissioner. They're 10. And they live with me, they bear my name, they're mine. But you see, with adoption, because you don't have blood relationship with the children, we have to be careful to be sure that men don't begin to sleep with their adopted daughters, and even adopted children don't end up marrying their adopted parents. So it shouldn't take 2 years. Ours didn't. But the process is long, because international adoption can take a year. And I'm proud to say that a lot of foreigners come here and adopt children that nobody will touch.
But then how do you follow up? Because
no, with adoption, you see, there's got to...
Easy. Sorry, those ones find it easy, because I've seen a couple that took a baby. I met them in December. They just came. They were here for a few days, took the baby, and they went back to Holland. Do they find it easy?
No, you should challenge that. That's what you saw. You don't know what they have done behind the scenes. Because you can't take a baby out without documentation. They have to go to court. They have to investigate them. Their country has to agree. A lot of things go on.
Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about your experience as an ambassador. That's another
very sweet.
Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
So we also know that you're an ambassador in Malawi. How did that come about in Zambia? How did that come about?
Well, still part of the hard work, but I would say political gain.
Okay.
After the PDP won again, every state sends forth a name for a representation. So I happen to be the lucky person to get it.
Fantastic.
So it was good. It's the icing on everybody's cake. Provided, of course, you also do what you have to do.
Yeah. So I was going to say, is it a tough job?
Okay. No, sorry.
Is it a tough job to be an ambassador? I think it might be tougher for places like South Africa, where we have xenophobic attacks and the stories we hear day today. Was it a tough job in places like Zambia and Malawi, and how was the relationship with Nigerians?
Yeah, how were Nigerians treated?
You see, it is, I would say the job of an ambassador is unpredictable. You wake up one day, you're enjoying yourself, having the dinners and the cocktails and the wine, and your flag is flying. To when you'll be woken up in the night that there's been a xenophobic attack. It's unpredictable, you have to be ready. And of course, you are the president of your country in the country of residence.
Right.
So you are the go-to person when anything goes wrong. So, but all in all, it's a tough job, but very interesting.
Nigerian embassies have a bad rap. I mean, if you go to if you speak to the Nigerians in Britain, they don't have anything good to say. If you speak to the Nigerians in Spain, they don't have anything good to say about the embassies. They don't. They keep them on the queue. You're going for your passport. They will keep you outside in the cold. I mean, they don't, because a Nigerian embassy is actually supposed to represent your government. You go there. You are the part of the government, but they don't do that to us. They treat us as if we're outsiders and they are insiders, and so a lot of Nigerians have problems.
Let me tell you, I will always reiterate that it depends on the person at the helm of affairs. But let us be frank with ourselves. I wish we were not on camera. Nigerians are tough nuts. I had a situation where I could have been recalled as an ambassador. I had an open door policy, ask anybody in Zambia. I even at some point went to the prisons appealed to have Nigerians repatriated. I paid out of my money and some miles I had gathered. Do you understand? The records are there. But Nigerians also can be very difficult. I'm not justifying what the embassies are doing. They should do better, especially with the issue of the passport. They should be quicker. But as Nigerians, we also must learn to be a little bit patient, to respect the laws, to respect the fact that, you know, we Nigerians, we have our own attitude. Even traffic-wise, when you look at us on the road, even when we greet ourselves, people who are not used to the way we do it, they think we are fighting, do you know? So there's a need to look at the embassies, there's no doubt.
All right, let's talk about perception, because I was going to link that to her own. As an ambassador, so you've been outside the country and you represent us outside the country. In your view, how are Nigerians seen? How are they perceived? Because there's information now they're making us look as if we're criminals. People perceive us to be too competitive for the citizens of the country. So too ambitious sometimes. In your own view, as a former ambassador, what's the perception of Nigerians living abroad?
Not very good.
Oh, okay.
Not very good. And we're not helping ourselves. But I'll tell you this. It is because the quality Nigerians... Don't get me wrong, I want to be careful here, and I hope I'm choosing my words right. The Nigerians that are quality in pedigree and in upbringing, they hardly leave Nigeria. And those of them who have left for educational purposes are doing wonders abroad. We're brilliant, we're respected. But there's the handful of people who unfortunately are the ones that people see. So when you get to meet the proper Nigerian, there's a lot of respect. But the generality of people who struggle to get out of this country because things are bad and they have a choice to go, who are they? It is time for the Nigerian government to take a census of the quality of Nigerians that are out there. We have a problem. We have a problem. Because I was shocked. I don't want to quote the wrong statistics, but it's something like it's only about 1 million or 2 million or 3 million of Nigerians that are actually travel in and out repeatedly. So it is not something that affects the 200 million of us. But when the shutters are down, who are we, even in our own country? We say the government is bad, but the little bits that we should do, courtesy on the road, etc., we don't even do it, you know? And we forget that we cannot carry this attitude out. We forget that we cannot get away with a lot of things that we'll get away with here. So we have a lot of work to do.
So maybe that goes too with the embassy staff. They too are the Nigerians from here.
Are you there? Hang in there.
Are you there? Not doing their work well.
Well, are you still there?
Yes, hello, good morning.
Okay, I think we lost the call. Sorry, go ahead.
They too are their own...
Hello,
they're the same people who are misperforming here. That they go to the embassies. And, I mean, because I've heard... It hasn't happened to me because I haven't had to go to an embassy. The way they talk to the staff, they won't reply mail. They will not pick up the phone.
It's true.
I mean, say, hello, yes, what?
All right, we have very little time, so I want us to go into other... I know you had... Your mom was very prominent.
Yes,
you had a very prominent
as an entrepreneur.
Tell us about growing up around with her and all that, how she raised you to be who you are today.
In our home, it was honesty is the best policy. When they pull your ear on one side every morning, honesty is the best policy. And on the other ear, hard work never kills. So that's the way I've been raised. Honesty and hard work.
You know, seeing you, I'll go back to your CV again, you've achieved so much. A lot of Nigerians today would say to you, you can't achieve much, especially with what you've just said, honesty. How can I achieve anything with honesty in Nigeria? You have to be a little crooked, you know, to
No, my darling, what you see is the paper. What I've been through is topic for another day. When you are honest and hardworking and you want to do things right, you're a witch. You are wicked. You sleep around. When they can't say anything about you, they badmouth you, and you don't have any friends. Because there's an adage in Yoruba land that says, Oloto Oleni or something like that. Is that it? So if you are honest and you're straightforward and you're blunt, you don't have a sleeping mat. So with friendship, with politics, with everything, I'm like a rolling stone.
Thank you for taking us to this issue of friendship, because you are an accomplished woman. In your own life, do you think as we see us, we're growing up, I mean, YK is already, we're growing up, but we're aspiring to be like you, like YK. We're aspiring to be like you, YK, and all that. What advice would you give to women out there? I guess friendships and what do we do to ensure that you stay focused, or do we have that whole community of, we're all
No, you have to define who you are.
Right.
Come rain or shine,
right.
You have to be who you want to be. You look in the mirror every morning.
Stuff.
If I can speak Yoruba, wasare. You wake up and say, look at me. You understand? Look at me. This is me, and I'm going to be successful. But the most important thing is you must define who you are and stick to it. Come rain or shine, stick to it.
All right, let's go to the final break. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
As we round up, I'd like to just throw in this last question. Do you have any regrets?
Oh, everybody must have a regret, but mine is not fundamental. I'm a happy-go-lucky woman. Whatever life throws my way.
Yeah. Is there any last message you'd like to give our audience?
Well, you must always have a second address. I was in politics. I walked out of it because I'm a lawyer. Now I run my own firm. I went back to school when I came back from being ambassador to take on another master's in peace and international conflict resolution. If I'm invited to come back, I'll do politics again, but I have a second address. When you have a second address, you're not desperate, and you do what you need to do.
Fantastic.
Also, finally, I'm just going to appeal to each and every one of us to always mentor people around us, not only your own children. I've picked up a lot of young girls who will come to say, can you mentor me? But it's tough when I have to mentor you because we have to break it down. Without discipline, you can't go far. So we also must ensure, don't leave everything to government. Government is not the problem in this country, it's us. You know, and don't say you're too young. Don't say you're too young to mentor anybody. That little boy that you encourage to go to school in your area, that youth corper that you look after, just keep doing something.
Thank you very much. Such a pleasure having you. Thank you. Unfortunately, that's all we can take. YK has brought shrine rice for us. We're going to feast on it.
And Mr. Daniel is not here.
Bye.